All right, welcome back. We are here for part 2 of illustration mastery, blitzing through each lesson that you could teach your students in order to make them the best illustrators that they can be. If you didn't watch video number 1, I'm going to put a little card here up in the corner. Click that and then come back here and watch this video. This lesson right here, anytime something happens in my classroom that I find annoying, if I'm being honest, irritating, I'm like, ugh. Instead of getting mad about it, I turn it into a lesson. And so this literally is a lesson called Pencil Drawings First, because I was getting frustrated with students that were working on third step, right, which is just their drafting phase, and they were grabbing the crayons, and then they would get upset if they messed something up and they couldn't correct it. And so I had literally just made a lesson that's like, hey, when we are doing illustrations, you're going to use a pencil first. Mind blowing, right? That might seem like common sense to you, but don't forget, we are working with 5- and 6-year-old students who are dealing with a lot, especially when it comes to writing. There's a lot for them to consider. So they might need a lesson like this to think, oh, maybe I should use a pencil first. The other thing this does is gives the students the opportunity to go trace their final sketch with a black marker before they illustrate. So I love to show this comparison here. The first little illustrator, you can see they just went for it with the crayons and the picture's okay, like it's not terrible. But then when they see the second slide, they can see like, ooh, I love how everything is outlined nicely. It makes it easier for me to color. And so them seeing that side by side is really powerful. So I typically have black felt tip markers available for students to use during that step when they have written their sentences and they've sketched out their illustration. Before they color it, I'll ask them to go trace over it with a black marker because it just makes the picture look really crisp. The next one is a reminder that if they're going to use the magic line, they need to make sure that they are using 2 colors to complete the illusion. So for example, if you look at this slide right here, you can see I've got a beautiful like little mountain scene. There's grass on the bottom. There's a sky in the background. So the magic line, that's how it works. You teach the children that wherever the line is, everything under the line, starting at the line and going down has to be the same color outside of the details. Starting at the line and going up has to be the same color, because if it's not, then the illusion is lost. So I will show them these 2 pictures, and this always really like paints the illustration very clearly for them. And they're like, oh yeah, like one of them has a whole bunch of colors on top of the magic line and below the magic line. So that's going to make it hard to see. It's supposed to be the sky and it's supposed to be the grass. I noticed that my students were getting the magic line concept, but they were not coloring it in order to create that illusion, so turned it into a lesson. This next one is one of my absolute favorite lessons. So what we do here is we've taught them what the magic line is, and that's great. But once they know what the magic line is, their favorite thing to do is put every single thing on the magic line. So we teach them to vary the detail placement. So you can see in the first one, everybody was on that magic line, but on this one, you can say, look, you can put the tree under the magic line and the people can go under the magic line. The house can stay on the magic line, but the sun will be above it. And so you can show them that they can play with the positioning of the things that they're drawing to make for a much more interesting picture. This next one is called That's So Shady, and it's literally me teaching children how to shade in their illustrations in the most efficient way possible. I talk to them about making sure it's smooth and they're not kind of scribbling all over it. And I tell them that it's okay for it to take a little bit of time, because if we want this to look beautiful, then good things take time, and that's okay. This next one is so much fun because a lot of times the paper can seem really big to some students, and then they will go in and draw these teeny tiny little pictures. So I'll show them student A and student B, and they can see the difference. Like, oh, it looks like they're trying to draw a bedroom. There's a little door somewhere. There's a huge window, but the door is so tiny. And I kind of talk to them about that perception. And then we look at the next picture and it's like, oh, those are much more appropriately sized. Which one do you think is better? And so it just sort of gives them a lens to think about when they sit down with their white sheet of paper. How big do I want to make this? How small should I make it? Do I want to base everything else off of the size of one item? Things like that. This next one just really hits the point that they can draw different kinds of magic lines. I've got a really great resource that's free that is called the Magic Line Museum, and it really gets at this point that your lines can do different things. It can be a curve, it can be wavy. So similar to the concept I was talking about earlier in the book Albert, but it's just turned into a lesson form. This next one here, True Colors Please. I remember posting this on Instagram one time, or a lesson similar to this, and somebody kind of got, well, but what if they want to be creative, and we shouldn't tell children what they should and shouldn't color. And I said, to an extent, I agree. But I'm talking about academic illustrations. I'm talking about illustrations that are conveying meaning. So if I'm in the middle of a personal narrative unit and I've asked them to tell something that really happened in their lives, I'm looking for real facts that happen, details about the people that were there and the things that they saw, then I need that to be reflected in their illustrations. So for me, a lesson like this is appropriate. Or if we're working on informational texts, and you're trying to teach me about tigers, but your tiger is green, then that doesn't work because this is an informational text. So yes, I'm all about honoring creativity, but at the same time, I'm also like, there needs to be a lesson that sometimes we need true colors.